So, Pokemon Colosseum happened. Welcome to Coach Max Entertainment, and this video is definitely different from any other kind of video I've done here on the channel. This is kind of a review, but also not really. This is going to be different from what I've done in the past. I'm just going to kind of talk about how unique this game is. I'm not treating this like an episode of a series where I'm making jokes or anything like that. I won't really be making a firm statement on how good or bad this game is either. I really just want to talk about it. So let's dive into this really interesting part of Pokemon history. Pokemon Colosseum released on March 22nd, 2004 here in North America, and came out in November of the previous year in Japan. It wasn't the first Pokemon game released on the GameCube, that was Pokemon Channel, but that's even further from a traditional Pokemon game, so this is really the first one that counts. I remember expecting this game to be a lot more like the Pokemon Stadium games on the N64, where it's more of a battle simulator rather than an RPG like the handheld games. But I was surprised when I found out that this was way more like the handheld games. Colosseum is essentially a regular Pokemon game on the GameCube in terms of traveling around a region and battling, but that's about where the similarities end. The big gimmick of Colosseum is that there are no wild Pokemon. You add Pokemon to your team by snagging Shadow Pokemon from trainers through the game. You're basically stealing Pokemon, but in this game it's viewed as more of a saving the Pokemon type of thing. And as if that wasn't different enough from the handhelds, every battle in-game is a double battle. This mechanic had just been introduced in Ruby and Sapphire, and I guess they just really liked this idea and wanted to double down on it in the game. I did a bit of Googling trying to find out why this was the main mechanic, but I came up empty on that front. I remember really liking this as a kid because double battles meant double the Pokemon, and the official VGC format is double battles, so maybe they were just way ahead of the curve in this game. You play as Wes, a former member of Team Snag'em, the evil team of the Ore region, who stole the snagging machine that lets you snag Pokemon from other trainers. The Shadow Pokemon that you steal have been modified, and it's your job to save those Pokemon and purify them. That's the basics of the story. If you really want to know a lot more about it, there's plenty of resources online. There's only 52 Pokemon obtainable in the base game. 2 of them are Umbreon and Espeon, who are basically your starters for the game. 48 of them are the Shadow Pokemon, and the other 2 are just kind of given to you. By the time of Gen 3, there were a total of 386 Pokemon to keep track of, so only having 52 obtainable ones in a game seems incredibly lacking. But you've got to look at what the handhelds looked like at the time. Fire Red and Leaf Green came out after Colosseum in every region, and there were only 200 Pokemon obtainable in Ruby and Sapphire. As far as I can tell, the main reason for this game existing was a way for players to get a majority of Johto Pokemon in the 3rd generation of games, since Gen 2 and 3 weren't compatible. 8 of the 52 Pokemon are from Gen 3, and none of them are from Gen 1. Given the rest of the 44 Pokemon in-game are from Johto, you can get incredibly close to filling up your Pokédex if you transfer your Pokemon to Ruby or Sapphire. Fire Red and Leaf Green had a large number of obtainable Johto Pokemon, but like I said, those games hadn't released by the time Colosseum did. Because there's no wild Pokemon, you can't grind your levels up in a safe, controlled environment. But most of the trainers in the world can be battled more than once, and there's these Colosseums in-game that repeat their rotations. They're really big arenas that you can earn experience in. These are the only ways to really grind in the game, other than just battling and leveling up through the main battles in the story. And they're a really good way to get some money, too. Now, the Shadow Pokemon deserve their own segment. When you snag a Shadow Pokemon, it's your job to purify it by using it in battle, treating it nicely, essentially the friendship mechanic in the handhelds. Very loosely similar. Each Shadow Pokemon starts out with the move Shadow Rush, which is a Shadow-type move. Nothing resists Shadow types, but nothing is weak to it either. Over time, you unlock the other moves of the Pokemon, and when you've depleted the Shadow Bar, you can purify it by taking it to one of the towns in the game. It'll lose the Shadow Rush move and gain a move that it would regularly know. Shadow Pokemon also don't level up until they're purified. The level gap in this game is probably the most interesting thing about it. Your Umbreon and Espeon start out at level 26 and 25, and the lowest level of a Shadow Pokemon available is level 30, except for 2 random level 20s. The highest level Shadow Pokemon is Tyranitar at level 55, so the levels in this game really only cover a 30 level span. That's like if the Elite Four in Red and Blue capped out at level 35 or so. It doesn't mean it's not a challenge though, trust me, there's plenty of challenge here, but it's just so different from the handheld games. That's essentially all there is to this game. It's almost kind of crazy that they even took a chance on a game like this. I remember being really disappointed in this game when I first played it, just because I definitely expected it to be like the Stadium games. I was probably most disappointed in it because there weren't any mini-games in it, but that's not really much of a complaint. I just didn't know that it was more like the handheld games. Before I owned the game, I remembered renting it from Blockbuster over spring break when I was in like 4th grade, and we went on a vacation to Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. My parents never let me take consoles on big trips like this, but for some reason they let me take my GameCube, and I probably spent more time playing Colosseum on this vacation than I did actually participating in the vacation. Before we close out the video, I wanted to talk about the style of the game. It's definitely got its own unique style. There's a very Mad Max post-apocalyptic style to this whole thing. Lots of goggles, big jackets, crazy hairstyles. This dude straight up looks like Shadow Riku, and this guy freaked me out as a kid. The names of the characters are just incredibly unique too. There's a big difference in names that I'm just not used to, and then there's the names in this game. This wasn't a video I've planned on making at all. During the quarantine of 2020, I was just looking for something to play that I had never played or hadn't played in a very long time. I never actually beat Colosseum, so this is the first time I've actually beaten the game. I never had Gale of Darkness either, and I still don't, so that's just one that I don't know anything about. I hope you enjoyed this different type of video, just kind of chilling and talking about a topic rather than taking a deep dive into whether something is a great game or not. Also, I hope you like the setup. I'm going to plan on using this setup for future videos requiring me to be on camera, so let me know how you feel about it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at CoachMaxYouTube and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, see you later!